Well, welcome, guys. That intro is really cool. I think we need an announcer to be like, welcome to the show, and have like graphics pop up and fireworks.
Oh yeah, that would make it even better.
I gotta
Like a
work on that.
10-minute intro, like the old like 70s rock songs, where the intro is like 5 minutes before they actually get to the song itself.
I've been watching other YouTube videos, and people will talk for a minute and then do like a little intro they have made. And so I've been thinking, I'm missing out by not doing that. Kind of like an intro to a TV show. But
Sounds
welcome
good.
everybody to our weekly live video show. We do Fridays at 12:30. I'm here with my friend Aaron Cavagnolo and my friend Dustin Abbott. And Dustin's internet connection's weak, so he's gonna pipe in when he can. But I feel like we need to give Dustin a nickname. I don't know what it's gonna be, but I feel like I think we need to call. I've been thinking about this today, like the teacher or professor. Ooh, I like professor.
I like that. Rarely nicknames stick with me.
Maybe our watchers.
Sorry, rarely do nicknames stick with me. Yeah.
Maybe the watchers.
Yeah, chime in. See if you
throw some comments. Yeah, give us the good ones.
I think I like the professor a lot.
Yeah.
I'm going to start calling you that, Dustin. I was thinking of it this morning, and that just hit me. So, but everybody, welcome to the show. We have the professor and Aaron.
I like
Aaron
it.
Aaron has the nicknames we're not going to use though, so they go back in time. We'll save those for later for the post show. But we do this every Friday. Please, if you have a second, I would love it if you hit the like button on this. So far this has been a really good show, but it's going to even get better. And so please hit the like if you can. If you want to subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. And I'm trying to get subscribers. It turns out if the more subscribers you have, the cooler you are. And I really want to be cool. So I'd really appreciate it if anybody subscribed. And I'm working from a laptop today. I'm at home, my parents' home. So if it doesn't have the high level of quality that you're used to, and a little slow changing between videos, I apologize. Because normally this is a tip-top operation, and there's a chance I might mess up a little bit here. So with that, I get a bunch of just random videos, some stuff I found on YouTube about people just making mistakes, and just a lot of things I feel like I want to ask you guys, but also the audience, that I think is gray area. Stuff where I genuinely want to know what people think and get your opinions about some different things, because there's things where they might be good ideas, they may not. So I'm going to start with this one first. This got sent to me the other day. Have you guys seen this before? This is a carabiner with a pulley attached.
I have.
What do you think about carrying this in your PFD instead of like a pulley and a carabiner? Aaron, you're on mute. So
the pulley tends to be. Go ahead, Aaron. I'm curious what you're.
Yeah, the pull. Seems cool to me. It seems like it'll work. I mean, I'd worry about the pulley getting jammed up over time, because carabiners get jammed anyways. But getting in there, getting grime in there, it'd be hard to clean out. But yeah, why not? I mean, I can't see what it's rated to. I don't know how strong it is. Does
it really matter what it's rated to? We're not climbing with it. It's not going to break. Right? It's
you're doing. I assume it is, but I would like to see that just to make sure it's rated properly. That's like a basic safety thing, right? The equipment that you're putting loads on, know how much force they can take.
Its major axis strength is 20 kilonewtons. Do you know what that means? No, you don't. You're just like, that's rated.
Talk English here. Put it in US terms.
It's hard because is it pounds force or pounds mass? I don't have time. If somebody
20,
in the audience,
20 kilonewtons times, was it 2.2 pounds per
it gets messy because there's pounds mass and pounds force. So there's the 2.24, then there's a 32.2. It gets messy, but I'm assuming it's strong enough. If Petzl makes it, it's strong enough. I'm not going to use this for a gear boat, right? But I'm going to use this for maybe a paddle boat, or if I need to do some other thing, like if you're creating a tension diagonal to help get swimmers across, and all you're doing is making a tight line to help get swimmers across, I think this could be super useful.
You're talking like 4,000 pounds, right? 20. You said 20 kilonewtons.
Yeah, it's probably
Like 4,500.
2,200 pounds force. 2,200 pounds.
Wait, it's 20 kilonewtons. Then it shouldn't be 4,000. Isn't it 2.2? It's not. It's not a 1. Man, we can't do math here.
Yeah, I'm not going to do math while I'm running this thick operation. But let's just assume it's strong. Like, do you agree with me? You're not going to use this for an 18-foot gear boat fully plastered.
Well, then I think that's my issue. That's why I bring it up. If it doesn't work for that, then why bring it? Unless you're only working trips. If you're working trips with no gear boats on them, then that makes some sense. If you don't need to have the other option, then yes. But then doubling up, that doesn't make sense to me. Then you're bringing extra stuff. If you're bringing pulleys, there's no point in this. If you're going to bring this in place of a pulley, that makes sense to me.
I think you have the pulleys in your safety kit, but this is what you put in your life jacket.
Then no.
Would you do you carry pulleys?
I think it just helps reduce the weight that you're carrying on your person.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to carry pulleys on my person. And like, I think Mark is even into this now, you know, Mark Hurst, he was talking about like, why carry that gear on you? You don't need it on you. You just need it in your boat. And anything you wear on you slows you down, makes you heavier, takes you more time to come to the surface, more likely to get caught on something somehow. Yes, it's a locking carabiner, but dangling stuff is more likely, or whatever the case may be. So I don't want to carry extra stuff on me. So I'd rather have just a little bag on my boat. And if I'm going to carry pulleys, I'll carry regular pulleys. If that can replace my pulleys, then yeah, that would make sense to me.
This isn't to replace your pulleys. What I'm doing is both. I'm carrying one pulley, one prusik, one carabiner in my PFD, and I've actually been using them. Sometimes, like, you don't think you're going to use it, but you get in some situation where a pulley is kind of nice. You just pull it out really quick and use it to solve a problem, and you're
like
done.
What? Zach, what are you solving? You're trying to set up a better line for hanging your gear to dry out?
No, this happened. We were lining a cat boat and it got loose from us, and it was in a weird spot. I was able to get a pulley on it partway down to almost create a vector pull. We put the pulley up top where it was on shore, ran the pulley down, and vector pulled the line to shore. And then we had
just done that with the carabiner.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
it was easier with the pulley, but check this out.
Not that much though. You could have still just like.
No. We vector pull it to shore, and then put it on a brake, and then undid the line, and then moved it down, and then the boat swung around the pulley into the eddy. It was super cool.
Yeah. What are those contraptions called that like you have to do 20 steps to like whatever, break an egg or something like that? You push one button and then it drops the other thing, and then it does this like the old mousetrap game. You like that type of stuff. Like you make something way more complicated that could be very simple. Where you could probably just align it down or pull it down or pull it over the rocks, and you're like,
Aaron,
let's do this.
It was a mess. This saved the day. We would have been there another hour and maybe had to do some sketchy stuff above a log portage.
I have a hard time believing that there wasn't a simpler option that didn't require you to bring a pulley down the middle, and then release it. And then if you're pulling it down, once again, you don't need the pulley. You want the pulley when you're pulling up to reduce friction. You don't need the pulley when you want friction if you're like letting it out.
I didn't want friction. Anyway, if I had video I could show you, you'd be like, wow, that was super smart. I get that you don't have it.
Unfortunately, there's no video, so we're just going to have to take your word on it.
I feel that some people, and this is, I was a person who never carried anything on my PFD for a long time. And then talking to Mark, I was like, maybe I should carry some stuff. So I went temporarily to the full 4-3-2-1. And I'm like, that's overkill. 4-3-2-1 was like 4 carabiners, 3 pulleys, 2 prusiks, 1 sling. I'm like, that's crazy. And now I'm mediating to like pulley prusik carabiner, which I think let me finish, Aaron. If you're paddle boating, right? Or I'm cat boating, right? If there's a situation, I go down there and I get things started. I get an anchor on a tree, I get a pulley going, a redirect. And if somebody comes down with that same stuff on their person, we then can set up mechanical advantage. And if the third person comes down, then we can then do the redirect. It's just a theory I have. It's something I'm trying. I'm excited about.
Well, I'm not going to have it on me, so
I agree.
I'm going to come down. Go ahead.
I agree with you, Zach. I think that like if everybody just carries a little bit, then as a team, you can get together and do a lot. but that's assuming that you have the team together and that the team is all on the same page. But I do think that like that's the idea, right? Is that everybody carries a little bit. So in the end, like you have the equipment necessary, the gear necessary to do some more complicated things.
I think here's the really cool use case for this. I think for having a pulley or even this little thing, because this is even less than I'm carrying a pulley and a carabiner. I could just carry this for small scale things, but the really cool use case is if I'm stuck on a rock and we want to set up a 2-to-1, I can then hook this carabiner up to the boat, and then somebody can throw a throw bag over to me. I can throw it back and have an instant 2-to-1. So as the stuck person, I can quickly create a 2-to-1.
Oh my gosh, Zach, why are you making things so complicated?
It's not complicated. It's easy.
No, because this is well, there's a lot of problems with that. But I'm just going to say is that you're the one who talks about having a system that everyone uses and everyone knows.
Yep.
And like you're starting to make it more complicated. And you're starting to put like, oh, you can do a 2-to-1 instead. And so people need to understand how to set up a 2-to-1, which is, it's not there, but it's something else to learn. And then you're right. Then you got to like, that would be pretty challenging to like, this would actually be better than a pulley, trying to open up a pulley on the end of the boat, get it around your rope, get it clicked in, then throw the bag back across while you're in the middle of the river is kind of challenging, depending on the situation.
I hear you.
That's asking a lot. So, I mean, I think for you, because you love gear, yes, Zach, you should carry.
Oh man.
But I'm about just like having the minimum amount of equipment and making each piece of equipment I have be necessary. Like don't bring more than I need. I wouldn't bring that. And I'm going to say something else too. Dustin talked about like, hey, that's cool if everyone has a piece and you bring together, you can have a lot. And I think that's a good theory in a way. But then when you're on one side of the river and you got your one pulley and the people on the, everyone else on the other side of the river are chasing, it's I feel like either carry 2 pulleys or don't carry them, But
one pulley is still useful because you can still do a redirect and you can do progress capture. So if you could just do progress capture, that might help a lot too.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting point. You could do progress.
So my point is having one pulley, one press like carabiner, there's a number of things you can do and it can be additive. So, I mean, I hear you, Aaron, you're getting me at the right place. Like, I don't like carrying a bunch of stuff. I want to have minimal stuff and I want to use systems everybody uses. I'm with you 100% on that. I think right now there's people who carry nothing and there's people that carry everything. And I think a happy medium is if everybody carries a little bit, then we're on the right track. And what Mark's doing now is he's carrying like a little dry bag next to him in his paddle boat.
Yeah.
Right. So like, he's like, cool, I have my quick 3-to-1 kit I pull out of my paddle boat and I need it. And my point is like, that's a good idea. But let's say you're on shore and you quickly need it. You don't have to walk back up to your paddle boat and grab it.
Zach, that's my point though, is like, you don't quickly need that stuff. Like that's not a quick thing for you. You could bust out a system very quickly. Most people, it can take some time. They're gonna have to think about it and look, and then you need to send someone upstream to make sure that no one's coming down, and like you've got a lot of things to do. And so in my mind is if you're gonna start putting rope systems, you don't need to have that on your body because you need to have some time to think about, do you really want to do that? Do you really want to get that rope system out? And having it in your raft, I agree with Mark. And that's what we used to do all the time, is just you carry it in your raft. And then if you need it, you got it, you went down there, and usually you need a long line anyways, or you want a high strength throw bag, So I just feel like I don't want to carry it. And I think I'd rather have people clip it in the raft someplace. So they have less stuff on their body.
What do you think about Trevor's saying there? Like sometimes he loses his boat.
Well, if he's without his boat, he doesn't really need the pulley, does he?
He might need it to get his boat.
Well, and I think Trevor does some more extreme stuff, which is interesting. Well, first of all, I'd say I don't like doing one boat trips. And if you're doing one boat trips, that changes the system. If you're not doing one boat trips, then in theory, your other boat's there and they should have the gear. So I think that is one thing I will say is that I like on hard rivers having stuff on each boat to like take care of a wrap, if that makes sense. Like I don't need stuff on that other boat. Oh, the boat that's wrapped has our long line on it. Now we can't do anything. Well, that's no good. Like, I'll say on the Cherry Creek trips, we used to always carry 2 long lines and everyone would carry a pin kit. So we had that stuff available.
And everybody would carry a pin kit in a little dry bag next to them, not in their PFD.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I think so. I think everyone did that. I'm not sure if everyone did that. I know I did, and I think most people did. But
I'm bringing this up because I'm super torn on this. Again, like I'm historically like you, like I'm good. I want to be light in my PFD. I don't want a bunch of stuff. And I feel like a lot of the rest of the world through IRF is starting to carry a full pin kit on their body. And that makes some sense. And in my mind, this is like a happy medium that we can work towards. But yeah, that's why I brought it up. I appreciate all the comments. If anybody, I'd love to hear if you guys just in the comments say what you do. You're like, this is what I do. This is what I believe in. Because I'm just trying to make some my own opinions up based on, kind of what everybody else is doing. And I saw this is just like, it's minimal, Aaron. This is nothing.
Yeah, it's nothing by itself, but it's not useful by itself. That's the thing is like just carrying that doesn't do you any good. It's like you can
still use this to clip your water bottle to the boat.
Oh, that way, yeah.
It's still a carabiner.
No, I thought you meant like putting it in a pocket on your vest. That's what
that's what I'm saying. Put in your pocket in your vest. Like it also works as a carabiner.
Yeah, it does work it is a carabiner, Zach. Yes.
It's a carabiner with a built-in pulley. First of all, I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to use this because I like my system, but it has me thinking maybe in a year, maybe I could see myself doing this.
Well, I mean, this is the thing that I think you got to be careful about this stuff. Like as we talked about, particularly those people with those 16-pound flotation vests, they carry hardware in their gear and they're taking out a good percentage of their flotation. And they don't have that much to begin with. So you're like, oh, okay, you just lost 6% of your flotation by carrying all that metal hardware in your life jacket. So if people want to carry it, I'm not really worried about it. That's their choice. But I think you're just better off putting a bag on your boat and then anyone can access it. And then you can, if you need, you can say, hey, grab the dry bag out of the back of my raft. Or you're dealing with something else. Hey, Zach, go get that from there. Or it's there. And I think ideally everyone carries in the same spot on the raft, so you know where it is in every raft. So it's very easily accessible.
Yeah, I think your perspective is you're thinking commercial trips. I'm a little bit thinking, what if I'm cat rafting with a bunch of people?
Or even cat rafting, just put it on your boat. Even more so cat rafting, because you're not going to wrap a cat raft. I mean, you can. I've seen it,
but like with a cat, that's my point. Is like I might just do a redirect. Like I might just need one carabiner to do a quick redirect. And with cat, when I'm catboating, people do get spread out more than they should, and like it's not like everybody's eddied out perfectly because they're not on the same page. And so let's say a boat is stuck on a rock and I can't pull it for some reason. Maybe I can do a redirect or a quick 2-to-1 or something. But
once again, you're talking about like how many people know how to set up a redirect?
It's super easy. You just put a pulley on a tree.
But how many people know how to do it? How many of your guides right now? When you ask them, hey, set up a simple redirect. They look at you and be like, oh.
They could do it.
They can't do it, but they don't know what it is. They wouldn't think about using it. That's my point. Is people don't use it.
But I would because I have the carabiner with me or I have the pulley. I'm like, oh, it might be nice to have a redirect here to solve this problem.
I've never used a redirect. So
all right, Aaron, you're old school. I wish there were some more comments down there agreeing with me, but there's not. Well, let's move on because we could do this all day. We lost Dustin, the professor. He may come back because he had pretty bad internet connection. He may come back.
He's out in the woods.
I want to. We have this video I want to look at first. I think is pretty interesting.
Oh.
Get rid of that advertisement. So what's going on here? Oops. Is this guide a carabiner, a non-locking carabiner on his throw bag attached to his life jacket? Sorry,
it looks like Wow. It looks like he had some stuff clipped in the back of his boat with those carabiners, and he got locked onto one of those carabiners that was clipped into his raft. Yeah.
Yep. And he tried to, I read the comments in the bottom. He tried to undo his safety harness thinking it was a safety harness, and it wasn't, it was something else. So the first thing he did was detach a safety harness.
That's why. Watch it again. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. What are you going to say?
Kind of terrifying.
Yeah, it looks. I mean, he was so lucky that boat didn't flip.
Imagine how terrifying that is. You're trying to move and you can't.
Yeah, you're like, I'm stuck in this boat. If the boat flips, I'm hosed. Okay, this is all of a sudden. Remember we talked about that thing of training how to take your life jacket off?
This would have been the time.
When you're upside down in this thing? Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
Oh, when you're upside down. I mean, swimming this without a life jacket, I think, is deadly too. I mean, this anything with white water.
But look, if that boat's upside down, he's not breathing. Maybe he can spin
option.
around and get a breath in, but he's, I mean, high chance he's dying. I mean,
yeah. But if that's an Astral, I mean, luckily somebody had the presence to get a throw bag over there quickly. Like they figured it out. But yeah. I find this just terrifying.
Yeah.
So I don't think on shore they know what happened. They're just, I think this is a video guy who. So those are carabiners. If somebody fell out, they could get clipped on their way out.
Yeah. Yeah. Not good.
So the moral of the story here, I mean, this is that right? Do you agree every carabiner on the river should be locking?
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. We were actually having a conversation about that with, we have these gear lists for people to go on trips, and this company was selling, wanted to make a package for us, and they're using a non-locking. We're like, no, that's not good. Like, you want the locking carabiner like that. Like it's too easy to, it's not that more expensive. Yes, they are more expensive, but it's not that more expensive to use locking, and the safety level is way better.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, this is the first time I've ever seen video. Look how loose his lines are too. His like perimeter lines.
Yeah. I will say that throw was a great throw. Like, they nailed that.
Yeah, I mean that. Look at how close it was to flipping there.
Oh my gosh!
So right there, he's trying to unbuckle his safety harness, like release it, thinking it was a safety harness.
Oh, that's what he was doing. I didn't understand that part of it when I was watching. I was like, what is he doing?
Yeah, he's trying to undo his safety harness there, thinking it was clipped onto that, but it was clipped onto something else.
Yeah, I had a friend who was pulling himself into raft and got stuck halfway up, pulling himself in like this, and he couldn't get up or down. It was stuck. It was stuck on it got caught on the D-ring, and it was on his life jacket, so there was no space to get in there and get it undone. It was, yeah, he said it was terrifying. Yeah, and then after that, of course, he became adamant about, I don't wear life jackets on my body. He's like, I don't care if they're locking or non-locking, because his point was like, yeah, you think you lock it, but sometimes you're going to forget. And I thought that was an interesting point with that is like, so I like that idea. If you have carabiners on your body, to put them in a pocket. That's what I like about Mark's thing about flip lines, is not wearing a flip line around your waist, because then that carabiner, you got multiple entrapment points. You've got the line itself, but then you also have that carabiner, which is hopefully locked. But at some point you're going to frag it, and if that got stuck on something right around your waist, that's going to be really hard to get off. So.
Oh, Dustin's back.
Oh, hey, Dustin.
Hey, Dustin.
Sorry, guys.
No, it's fine. The professor's back. So the one thing here too, like his communication, I was just watching it. He's communicating. Oh, wait, let's go back a second. It's pretty cool to see him. Let me go back. He's trying to do signals to point out to the people on shore what's happened. Do you see that? Like behind him, that thumb. And he's like, give me the throw bag. Give me the throw bag. And I think that's nice nonverbal communication. And that's he only has one hand to catch that throw bag with.
Yeah.
Right. That's a throw right to his hand.
Yeah, that was a great throw.
Oh, that's good. So on shore, it took another guy with two hands 20 seconds to pull it off. Like, he wasn't getting that thing off. All right. All right, on to the next video. We have some comments here. Okay. I could go back to no 96 Olympics. That's cool.
Yeah, the ones that auto lock are he's right. Those are way better. Like the ones that, yeah.
I'm slowly moving over. So I think for your safety kit, like your Z-rig kit or whatever you call it, having those aren't in the boat attached to things you can get clipped on. I think having screw ones there are okay, but I think anything that's actively being used to attach on like a throw bag or a water bottle, having an auto locker is key because just in case you don't remember to lock it for some reason.
That's definitely the gold standard, the auto locking. Like I think the screw ones that's adequate. I'd say not in my mind, non-screw are like, no, that's below. That's not good enough. Screwed are good enough. Auto locking are the ideal.
Yeah.
And because the screwed, like you can forget, and yeah, it takes a lot of vigilance with those. So.
I'm really digging the magnetic ones, the magnetrons. People have problem. The problem with the magnetrons, people say they get sand in them and they get kind of caught up, and other people see them and don't know how to use them. Right? Like if somebody gave you that and said open it, it's like how?
Yeah, that's what I don't like about those. Is it's not auto. Everyone can just use them and clip them and unclip them. So. Well, is this more rap? Did we watch some of this rafting before?
We haven't seen this one. I got to say, we didn't have a lot of video this week to go over that people sent us. So this is like hodgepodge week of just stuff. If you just search YouTube for Rishikesh rafting accidents, there's a gold mine of things to watch. It's amazing. And I watched like 4 or 5 different ones last night to find the right one. Ty writes, for me, 4-3-2-1-1, streamlined person, commercial, super versatile and practical. See, this is the debate, Ty. I think there's a lot of people on your side. They're like, it's only about whatever it is, 8 ounces, 10 ounces. It's not even a pound. What's the big deal? You can quickly react. You can be a safety squirrel. And I think Aaron would say, I'm going to try to say what Aaron would say is, man, every little bit of weight makes your head above the water a little bit more when you swim. And so,
yep.
It's a trade-off between, do you want to be quick to react to a safety situation, or do you want to be able to breathe? I think that's the debate we're having.
And I'm going to say, when you put more stuff on your body, it makes it harder to climb back into the raft because your pockets are bulkier. It creates more drag for swimming, just every which way. Like having more stuff on your body it slows you down.
Yeah, I think an underrated thing is how much bulk there is on your vest. Mm-hmm. It's that much harder to get in and out of the boat. And your quick boat entry is maybe more important than a lot of other things you might think. Be able to quickly get back into a boat, whether you're swimming or you're in charge of flipping the boat back over, is pretty big. Nick, they should all be locking. If there's any non-locking, hopefully from that video, you're like, my non-locking are going, I'm using them to hang things in my garage. But I think having identical locking mechanisms is probably smart. So and you're trained with it. I have one I use all the time. I'm very, very quick with. Dustin, now that you're back, Aaron and I bickered about whether to carry this stuff in our PFD. Do you want to break the tie?
I'm for carrying stuff on me. I have in the past carried the 4-3-2-1, and picking up, like you were just saying, Zach, picking up my life jacket, my PFD versus somebody else's PFD, the weight difference was incredible. Like my PFD was like much heavier. So I've pared it down. I do carry like some other random things. Like we talked one time, I carry, I have like trauma shears in my PFD. But to like touch on this locking carabiner thing, I think that it's a good idea to be consistent in what you carry. If you carry some auto lockers and some that are screw gates, you may be more inclined to forget to screw up that gate. So I think that like by carrying screw gates, you're always remembering to do that. And if you ever go to a situation where somebody else is carrying screw gates and you only carry auto lockers, then in that instance, like if you're working with somebody else's equipment, you may forget to lock that carabiner. So again, I think it's debatable, but it just needs to go back to remembering to make sure that those carabiners are locked. And I use a little saying when I'm working with rope systems and carabiners is you clip it, you flip it, you screw it down so you don't screw up, you take it back a skosh, and then you squeeze test it to make sure that it's locked. So clip it, flip it, screw it down so you don't screw up, squeeze test.
Yeah, but really, are you really going to do that every time?
I mean, you need to. If we're not all using, if we're all not using consistent or the same equipment, then we need to be double checking everything all the time. It's a risk management step. It's a safety concern.
Aaron, do you do that every time?
I always check my locking carabiners. Yeah.
Well, I check it, but do you twist it and flip it? Do all the things? I do
have a little thing where I close for the twist ones, twist it all the way, and then just tight, and then do it a little less, and then make sure it's good
every time.
Yeah, it's like I'm terrified. Like yeah, I don't always go back. I'll say on it. Like sometimes I'll go all the way, but I still check it and make sure it's closed properly.
I think here's another question. I mean, after seeing that video, I mean, I'm already terrified of non-lockers in the boat, but seeing that video is just a real reinforcer for me. I see what you're saying about when you're tying in your throw bag and your water bottle and whatever it is in your boat, right? But when you're doing a 3-to-1, is it like, what if you missed it there?
It's not that big of a deal, but it's just a habit. I do it without thinking about it. That's the whole point. It's just automatic.
I mean, when you're climbing your life or death situation, you don't want to rebound, you'll die and fall off a cap. But when you're doing a 3-to-1, if somehow your non-locker comes through and a rope comes off, you know, it's not going to be catastrophic. Your system's going to go away in the 0.1% chance.
When you're more likely to have someone get hurt because something could fly out, who knows?
Yeah.
But, so, I mean, does it hurt to take that how long do you think that takes you, Dustin? Half a second, quarter of a second to do that? I mean, 2 seconds?
It's not long. It's not long, and it's part of the IRF standard, right? Like your assessor will come around and check your 3-to-1, and if your carabiners aren't locked, you're not passing that assessment. Oh. So, like Zach, to go back to IRF standard and any sort of risk management. I mean, you take any sort of swift water rescue class, and when you do a 3-to-1, they're going to say make sure your carabiners are locked.
I agree that they should.
I mean, granted, if you've got a 3-to, if you've got a system set up, if you've got a 3-to-1 system set up, hopefully it's just to rescue gear, so you can take your time. It's not a rush situation. And in the past, if you're setting up a 3-to-1 to get a boat off, like you say, you're cool. Send some folks down and also set up lunch. You're going to be there for a bit, so take your time. And like last week, slow is smooth, smooth is safe, safe is fast, So take the whatever it is, half second to a second to lock that thing down and make sure it's there. Make sure it's closed.
I agree that you should always lock them 100%. I'm just asking the question just to be devil's advocate. I'm making the statement that definitely on your boat, 100% locked. If you were going to forget ever, it would be in a mechanical advantage system, right? I never want to forget on my boat.
Yeah,
if I did forget, that's where I'd want to forget.
But that's a better place to have that mistake happen. The best place to have it happen is at home. But
but like same thing on shore. Like say it's raining and it's slippery out, and you're wearing your full PPE, you slip onto your 3-to-1 while you're building it, and now you're clipped into your 3-to-1. Like that's a bad situation as well.
I agree with you that you should 100%. I'm just asking a theoretical question.
Yes,
Sure.
Zach, you're right. It's not as bad. Okay, I think we've done. Let's look at some comments.
Christopher says simplicity and consistency. One carabiner, one press, one pulley. Expect to combine gear to get 3-to-1 difference in gears. Consuming. I don't understand that. Sometimes
Well, I
I read
think what
comments
he's
I don't
saying
understand.
is if everyone brings their own one carabiner, one press, one pulley, and then you're like, "Hey, Zach, here's my stuff." And you're like, "Oh, your pulley's different. Your stuff's different. I'm not comfortable using this stuff." So I think that's part of what it sounds like. What he's saying is like you talk about like not being able to use your locking carabiners. Like you gave me your locking carabiners to use, and I'm like, I gotta set up. You're like, "Hey, go set up this 3-to-1." I'll be like, and you walk off, and we're like, I can't get this carabiner to work.
So what you're saying is my idea where I show up with my stuff, I start setting the system up, and then the professor comes down with his stuff, and he doesn't know how to run my locking carabiner or my pulley's different. And so using different stuff in the 3-to-1 system can create some issues.
Yeah, because people, I think that's what he's saying, because people don't understand how to use it, and potentially, like, oh, this pulley doesn't fit with this carabiner, or who knows, What it can go back to? I'd like to, I think he makes a good point. Yeah, your throwback does add flotation, but I feel like
not that much.
But he's talking about relative to having all that stuff on the life jacket. And my argument is going to be like, yeah, great, it adds flotation. Why are you taking that away? Why don't you have that extra flotation? That extra flotation is good. It's valuable. It gets your head up faster. So yeah, that counters having that stuff in your pockets, but you could not have the stuff in your pockets and float even higher and get to the surface even quicker. So that would be my argument about it. Like, Ty, you're right. Yeah, definitely the throwback flotation probably counters most of what you're carrying.
Maybe.
I'm just going to give him that for the second and just say, I would still want that extra flotation. Like, that's more flotation.
Maybe, just go run a couple miles every week and lose a little bit of weight.
Oh,
and,
Dustin, burn, man. Hey, I know that's pointed towards me.
Yeah.
That hurts. It's not pointed towards skinny boy Aaron, that's for sure.
Ouch.
But I mean,
I've been chucking up.
But life jackets are, they have so much flotation, right? And like, I might wear the same size as somebody that's 10 pounds lighter than me or 10 pounds heavier than me. I might wear the same size and it has the same amount of flotation. So, the few extra ounces, I don't know. It might be pretty minimal.
Well,
like
I'm going to say, I'm going to say
that's the argument. That's the argument. But every little bit your head's above water helps.
It does. And this is how many people have taken a big swim and said, "Oh, I wish I had less flotation."
So here, I guess I don't know, but
I've never heard that. I've never heard that.
Man, I wish I had a low float today.
Oh yeah, man, that swim sucked. I wish I had a low flow jacket on. That would have been way better.
Here's a thought though. Is the likelihood of a high float PFD more like a high float PFD? Is it more likely to keep you in a retentive hole than a low flow PFD?
This is the argument everybody makes.
This is the argument of people who haven't swam a lot.
I want to ball up and go to the bottom when I'm down. Like that's what people say is like I can swim holes better. And I think that's a made up thing personally.
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say 95% of the rivers we run, kayakers, I think it's a different story. I think some of the kayaking runs they do where they're much more vertical, and the verticals I could see more of that. But 99% of the rivers we run, the holes are really flushy. There's a lot of current going downstream. It's more at this angle. You're getting pushed down, and people will get restrict once, but not numerous times in general. And then if you make that argument, maybe you're looking push down, but maybe you're just more likely just to stay underwater in there and never come to the surface and get a breath. I think that's a bigger problem. Or along the eddy fence. So you might get flushed out better, but you also might just get turned around in there and never have your head come above water because you don't have enough flotation. So, like it seems like one of the common causes of death on rivers is low flotation. Is not having enough flotation, like without.
Well, hold on, Aaron. I don't think that's substantiated. I don't think.
Okay,
like,
you're right.
You go to American Whitewater website, low flotation is fatalities. It's flush drowning, and nobody knows what it was.
Yeah, but that's my point. Flush drowning is a lot of them, But if you had the super life jacket if you had 50 pounds of flotation on your vest and you're floating that high like you're in your kayak, you probably wouldn't have the flush drowning.
There's a lower chance. You can make that. I think you can make that assumption.
I'd say there's a percentage of them that would have been prevented.
Yeah,
Statistically significant.
I don't know if you've ever reviewed this or chatted about it, but there was a Canadian company that came up with like an inflatable flotation device that you wear around your waist.
Mustang.
So if you are underwater, and it works kind of like an avalanche airbag if you're familiar with backcountry skiing, where it's got like a CO2 charge in it, and you pull the rip cord and this big bag inflates to try and add more flotation, and especially in big water environments. It's another tool, like something to consider.
So Mustang Survival has a PFD like that, Dustin.
I like this comment. Sorry.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
Yeah, totally agree, Chris. Yeah.
Mustang has one that's a 12-pound PFD flotation, but if you pull this cord, it goes to like 18. And I think I like the idea. I wish it was 16 and went to 25. But the issue is you don't always have that when you're swimming in white. This works if you're in the lake or in the ocean. But in whitewater, when you're swimming, you don't always have the presence of mind and ability to grab the thing and pull it. So I think it's not a great solution for whitewater. But if it had minimum flotation and I could grab it if I needed it, like if I'm swimming a massive rapid, I might use it. I did a Gear Garage about that PFD. And I inflated it. It just goes. It's a little bit bigger.
I do remember that there was another rescue company that did a big one that added like 100 pounds of flotation. It was rather remarkable. It was on a big long
100.
Yeah, it was a big balloon that inflated.
Okay. Now let's
watch some videos. You guys want to watch some videos? These guys are about to get. This is about to get real. Their paddling isn't awesome.
I feel like they don't really care about that. They're just going to drive them into the big feature and flip them. Like, isn't that the game here?
I don't think they want to flip.
Okay.
I don't know. I think. I liked that he threw his paddle on the boat right away. That was smooth.
It's like they do this a lot. That's what I'll say. Gets up on the side, go over the side. Yep.
He wasn't getting in on the side though, which is interesting. He's trying to figure out how to get in. I think he's trying to figure out how to get in.
It looks like he hasn't practiced this. There we go. Hands in the holes. Yeah, there's it. He's got it.
Looks like a 16-foot boat. That looks hard to get in on the side.
It didn't look that bad once he got his fingers in the holes. Oh, look, that person's smiling.
The audio of this is really good. If anybody wants to watch this afterwards or just stop watching us and watch this, the guide is saying, hey, guys, you're good. Don't worry. He's like, relax. Nothing's going to happen. That guy's kind of freaking out, but like he's very calming, which I think is really important. Like, hey, guys, relax. I got this. Yeah.
Where are the other boats? Where are the other boats, Zach?
That's the thing is the boats. I mean, that's the boats were closer for boat spacing.
I thought there was a boat in front of them when they were going into the rapid.
There was, but it's pretty far ahead. And now he's basically getting this guy off. He's like, get off. I can't flip the boat with you on. And then this is the safety kayaker swimming.
My goodness.
Are you sure we didn't watch this one before, Zach?
I don't think so. We watched another one where a safety kayaker swam.
There's a different one.
But I like this one because he's doing a lot of good things. Like he's getting them to the end of the boat. You know, he can't flip the boat when they're on the sides. So he's taking his time. I don't know where is this a flip line? I don't know where this came from.
Yeah, it's a flip line, yeah.
But I think there's something here really interesting that I want to point out.
Well, where's the safety kayaker?
Oh, he wraps it around his hand. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been having some talks about this, and this is what I want to kind of bring up today. Is when you're doing a flip line.
Yeah, we watched this one before. We talked about this exact episode.
Okay, I just forgot that.
We talked about him wrapping.
Oh yeah, Trevor's even saying it. Trevor's even pointed it out. I looked at 5 Rishikesh videos and picked this one last night. So I don't know what's going on. But I want to bring this up because somebody the other day, I did a Gear Garage video about what I wear what happens to my PFD, and I use a loop as my flip line, right? Not a single line. I like the loop. And, somebody commented that's a danger loop. Like maybe it's dangerous to have a loop that big. And here, if you have just a straight line, you have to wrap it around your hand.
Is that really that big of a deal? Wrapping it around your hand for this?
That's what I'm asking.
Are you really that concerned for this moment?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking.
I mean, how many times do you think you'd have to do this in this conditions where you'd have a problem after wrapping around your hand? At what point and what's going to happen?
I go back to the idea of practice. Practice makes permanent, right? If you're practicing this way, when it does matter, are you going to resort to this method? Like in the most easy, this is fairly calm water. It didn't look like there was anything coming up like right away. Like, why would you practice an unpopular, unsafe, or risky method? Because when it does count, are you going to resort to this method? I think it goes back to like class 3 boating. And like, if you want to step up to class 4, you start making those class 4 moves in class 3 whitewater. So why would you make an ignorant move like this in something really simple when you know that not wrapping it around your hand is the ideal situation?
So I think it's fine here, Aaron. Would you do this same move in the middle of Gray's Grindstone if you flipped in the entrance?
Yeah, probably not. Yeah.
So the question I have, and the reason I wanted to look at this is, do you guys think that the loop, I like the loop because you can grab the loop with one hand even and just lean back. There's nothing to wrap. You just hold on and you lean pretty far back instead of using grip strength on a rope, right? What would be the preferred flip line technique? The pre-done loop or
I'm
the?
going to say this.
Rope?
I mean, is it really that hard to hold on to your rope? Like the harder part is having enough weight to flip it over. I mean, you're just holding yourself up. You're just leaning back on it. It's not that hard to hold on to it.
Aaron,
maybe your hands are really cold.
You and I are tall, and I'm about 50 pounds on you. So for me, it's not. But for some people who they're like 5'2", and this is a 16-foot boat, they have no just chance to flip this boat.
But even that. But my point is that you can only put your weight into it. You can't pull more than your weight when you're flipping the boat over. You can't run and snag it and pull harder and then it rips out of your hand or something like that. You can only pull your weight. And I think in general, you can just hold on to it and pull it over.
I don't think you can. I don't think you can fully lean back and hold on to it.
There are techniques to increase friction in your hands, right? So if you were to have the rope running through your hand, and what we say is thumbs up, the rope comes up and over your thumb, and you're increasing the amount of friction that your hand has over that rope. And if you're doing that with both hands, both thumbs up, you've created a ton of friction, and it should reduce the likelihood that rope is going to slip through your hands. So there are techniques out there. We just have to practice them.
And that's a good point. No, you can. You can just. I think I have grabbed it with 2 hands before too. At certain points when I start to pull. Yeah, and then I sometimes have a knot at the end, which I think that's a knot at the end isn't that big of a deal.
For me, if I had this boat, this flip line, I would probably drop the paddle. But I'd also fail my IF.
You fail your IF Taurus. No, you don't need to drop your paddle, Zach. Come on. Well, you probably just use your paddle to flip it back over because you have a couple of little loops in the bottom of the boat, and you grab onto your paddle and flip it over.
I might do that. But I think in this case, if I had that rope, I want to make sure I flip it. I don't want to do it and then slide off, and then I don't want to be that guy. Yeah. So I'm going to make sure I flip it. And if that means drop my paddle, I'm going to put 2 hands on it and make sure I flip it over.
And then you'll come back in your boat and not have a paddle and just be like, hey,
fail that RF test. Yeah.
Hey, can we go back to Kevin? Can we go back to Kevin's comment about the body weight being neutral? I think, Kevin, that's true. But I think what we're missing though is that you're not starting on the surface. Like think about it. If you're 10 feet deep in the water because you get pushed down deep, okay, Zach weighs, let's just say he weighs twice as much as me. just for.
That's a little bit of an exaggeration.
He doesn't, but let's just say he weighs twice as much as me, right? Okay, that we're pretty much neutral, like you say. So the force to drive him up and the force to drive me up, we have the same force driving us up from the same PFD flotation, but I weigh half as much. So I'm gonna start going to the surface way faster because my acceleration is gonna be twice as his. So I'm gonna get up in about half the time, right?
Is this a Newton's second law thing? Force equals mass times acceleration?
Yeah, F equals ma.
So same
yes.
force.
Oh yeah, now we're having fun.
Acceleration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Man,
I mean, you're right about them being neutral, but I think once you're underwater or you go deep, you'll notice bigger people go deeper too. When they take swims and they go through holes and features, they go deeper. And that's because they've got more momentum, first of all, going down, and it takes them farther, and it takes more time for that life jacket's force to overcome their momentum to bring them to the surface since they weigh more.
It's a great use of your engineering degree, finally, Aaron. It's about
I know.
time.
Yeah, killing it here.
So I think the 6 mil, I don't know if that's 6 millimeter, but the thicker the rope it is, the easier it is to grab. So having thicker ropes is easier for holding on to. But I want to get back to my question and then Peter's comment next. I've always used loops, right? Because I can really put one hand and really lean all the way back and take my time. I'm not holding a rope, I'm holding a loop at the end. And two people can grab it. If I have somebody up here, I can say, grab the loop, and I can hold one side and somebody can hold the other side. Do you feel like that loop is dangerous?
No, just me. You think you're carrying twice as much line as you need to.
I think it's about the risk that you're willing to accept. Are you willing to accept that risk and the likelihood of that accident happening? Does the benefit analysis balance out for you? Again, I think it's up to, I don't know if there's no absolutes, right? And so I do think it's up to what you know best and the risks that you're willing to accept.
So my trade-off here is that I know the importance of a very quick reflip, whether it's a paddle boat with 6 people or a gear boat. You have a 16-foot gear boat. I want to get 2 or 3 people up there and flip it over before it goes through the next rapid. And so I'm all about, let's get this reflip very quick, having been in those situations before. And so I'm going to take the risk of having the loop because I know the risk of having the boat and or swimmers continue downstream and get worse. That's the trade-off I believe in the type of boating that I'm doing.
I also think that in this particular situation, he's got a lot of rope in the water. As soon as he comes down, that rope is loose in the river and could get wrapped around anybody accidentally. So creating even another hazard. So it's, there's another trade-off.
Yeah. I think we can agree that rope is longer than it needs to be.
Yeah.
Like that's one thing definite. Like that the rope doesn't need to be that long. And I think that's going to Peter's comment, which is good, coming kind of dovetailing with Dustin's. It's important to practice flipping your raft, to know what length of line you need, to know if you're like Zach, who you needs a loop to hold on to, or if you're like Aaron, you don't need a loop, even though you weigh a lot less. But yeah, you can,
Aaron, hold on, Aaron. Slow down, champ. Do you carry a flip line on your PFD or on your person?
Yes.
What do you carry?
3/4 inch webbing.
And do you use it as a straight line or do you use it as a loop?
I've got a little on a bite, a little water knot on a bite on each end of it, so I can use it I can stick one end through a tube on my boat and come around my tube and clip it together. So
yeah. But when you flip a boat, are you just attaching one carabiner onto the end and pulling on the webbing?
Yeah. And it's got a little knot on the end of it, which gives it a little more like, I think that's something that Trevor mentioned there. The little knot, it's got a little, I don't use the loop. The loop's too small to put my fingers in, but that knot gives me a little more purchase.
Yeah, that helps.
It's never been, for me, the problem has never been holding onto the rope. The problem is, am I heavy enough and do I have enough weight in my shoulders to lean back and pull that over? Like, it's not like I'm like, oh, I can't hold onto the rope. It's like, am I heavy enough to get it over?
I mean, what I see is like when sometimes they're really close and you just do a couple of like sways and then it goes. And so having something super solid is nice, whether it's my loop idea, which is what I was taught. So that's what I do.
Have you ever tried without a loop, Zach?
Tried what?
Have you ever tried without a loop?
Yeah. I'm just so fast with the loop. Like I just
How hard was it without the loop?
It was harder. I worry. This is my fear. When I'm doing a reflip, I'm either doing it for speed for like a test, or it's for real. And I want to be 100% sure when that boat goes over, I'm attached to it. I don't want to be the. Have you seen a lot of people flip boats and they get it all the way up? And they think they have it and they fall in the water. I don't want to be that person ever. Whether I'm demonstrating it for training or for real life, like I've already climbed on the boat, set my thing. I'm not going to not flip that boat. That boat is going to go over when I flip it over. I'm not going to take a chance. And I worry that I might slip in a real life situation.
I can see that concern. And I'll say, like, I could see, like, you're working a river that's cold. It's taking you a long time to climb up. Your hands are cold. Like, I can see some of that. Like, having said that, I think the dexterity to get your carabiner on the side is going to be probably before we even get to there. Hey, before going on these comments, like, I kind of like to back up and ask you something else. I was surprised to hear you say with gear boats, you like to flip those in the current as well.
I do.
While just going downstream.
Yeah.
With another rapid looming. You don't say like, oh, hey, buddy, can you just pull us over to that eddy and then we can take our time? And
it depends on the situation.
Okay.
If I know I can get it over, let's get it over. I mean, sometimes getting it to shore takes more time than flipping it.
Yeah, for oar paddle combos, paddle boats, totally agree. Gear boats, because you don't usually have enough people right with the boat there to do it.
Last time this happened to me, we had a 16-foot flip in Clear Creek on the Illinois at like 2,000-ish. Right? There's not a good place to pull to shore there. There's not eddies. And there's not the big rapid.
Yeah. No, that's a good place. That would be good. Yeah, I could see that place. Yeah,
it was going to go.
There's kind of a walled, mellow flow. It's really mellow, but it's walled. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You have 4 or 5 minutes, but if you don't get it, it's going to go a ways. There's not a good spot. There's current, and it's like, let's get this over. So 2 of us jumped on, 2 big guys like me. Each of us put our flip line on, and we got it back over. Versus, it could have been a mess.
So did you get a guide from another boat to hop on there, or what'd you do?
I was a guide from another boat, and I got another guide from another boat. Yeah, I was at a.
And then who was running your boat?
I just let it drift. I think I may have pulled the guy who flipped into my boat, and then jumped on his boat. That's what I normally do with Carl. When Carl and I would guide a lot, I would when he'd flip, I'd pull him in my boat and then jump on his boat and flip it over. Right. So, but I might have. It's a judgment call, right? I might just be like, let's just jump on and take care of it, and I'll deal with my right side up boat later because I don't want this boat to go a mile.
But I was wondering, are you just leaving your guests by themselves?
It wasn't a commercial trip. Oh yeah, if I had guests, this was a training trip. I wouldn't. If I had guests, yeah, I'd pull that guide in to my boat first. Say, you got this. Well, if that boat that flipped had guests in it, that's number one. Like, guests in the water, deal with that. This was somebody by themselves. And then if I'd guess my boats, I'd take care of my guests, and then I would get that guide in, then jump to his boat, and I would have ridden it out a mile if I had to. Like the 2 of us, let's have 2 people on it, and then we'll flip it.
I to ride it out for a mile when you can just be in your own raft and pull it to an eddy at some point, and just be next to it.
Because sometimes it's hard to push into it. If it's a gearboat, it's hard to push into an eddy. I don't know. It's a judgment call. It's a quick decision. It's like, hey, here's how we're going to solve this situation, right? Based on the constraints. But being able to have 2 big people jump on it and have flip lines. And I mean, the other guy is NRS's best and brightest, my friend Ian. He was ready to rock. He had his flip line ready to go on the boat. I was like, you ready, Ian? Let's do this. And it was awesome. I was pretty proud of that one.
I'm going to say in general, I'd rather pull it to an eddy because I think if you have that option, particularly with the gear boat, like you say, you can mess it up and there's just complications. And it's just nice to be in that spot. Like you flip it back over and you're missing an oar, a lock is damaged. There's so many.
With flips, you like flipping. You get
I
ready
like
then
in an eddy. Not in the main current.
What about below Greenwall? Where's that eddy? If you flip it in Greenwall,
there's multiple eddies below Greenwall. There's eddies right below the narrow canyon you could pull over to the right. You can pull over. It's like maybe it's like calm water or something like that, but you can still push it to shore. There's things you can do. Yeah, I just in general like.
I agree. It's not always there.
I'm gonna go back to situation dependent, and that there are no absolutes. Like you're not always gonna flip midstream. You're not always gonna flip in an eddy, but we need to be of sound mind and judgment to be able to determine what the best technique is for the situation. It's a tool in your toolbox. We were on the Grand Canyon last February, and we had a flipping horn. And we were able to get 3 or 4 people on a gear boat and flip it right at midstream, and keep going downstream. And that was a great solution for that situation. So again, I think the situation is going to dictate your technique.
I think, but that though, I bet you had a lot of guides. You had a lot of extra guides there, right? On your trip.
I mean, we did.
I think that's the difference. Is like I think when you have a lot of extra guides. But when you don't have a lot of people who are confident and knowledgeable of this stuff, I think like that's where I think it's more conservative to pull over and regroup.
And that's what Dustin's point is. The professor is saying it's situation dependent. I think thank you for the voice of reason, because Aaron and I could talk for an hour.
Let's get back to flotation and vest. I love this conversation. He's totally right. I can't agree more with these statements.
Yeah, I agree.
Floppy gear. Yeah. Like I think that people that have floppy, having a what are those called? Throw a bag around your waist is nice, unless it's a big floppy mess that makes it harder.
Well, if you skip down to Trevor's, because this one gets a little off topic. If you go down to Trevor's comment, like I believe agree with Trevor here in that.
Before I skip Nick, let's just cover this really quick. There are. All right. I can just quick, then we'll get to Dustin. I mean, there's all kinds of entrapments from different things that are solid. I mean, most ore frames have similar entrapments between the cooler and the frame, and it's a judgment call.
Where do you guys like to rig your spare paddles?
I like them over the thwart.
I'll typically do it over the thwart I'll typically do it over the thwart as well, unless I have guests like sitting right there and that paddle is like inhibiting like their comfort level. Like if that paddle is like jamming into those guests or those people that are right in front of me. Otherwise, it's opposite me, like tucked under the thwart with the T grip sticking out the back. And I do recommend making sure that thing is tied down as well, because I have lost loose paddles out the back. Like they get caught on a tree or some brush on the side of the river, and I have lost that spare paddle because it wasn't tied down. Don't get complacent.
Yeah, definitely tie them in. One of our guides showed me this trick that on the middle fork I was digging. You put the T grip down and the blade up off the back. Then you can lean back on the blade and have a nice seat, which was pretty cool, actually. That was a nice thing.
Rig for comfort.
Yeah, and I think that also, like, if you do it the way you're talking, the blade under the thwart and the T grip back, it's a nice GoPro mount too. So sometimes, you got to decide: do you want the entrapment or do you want the footage? We know which
decision you make, Zach.
Hey, there's no show without the footage, Aaron.
Yeah, I know, totally. But let's go back to this for one more. Stay on this thing about rigging the paddles. What do you guys think are the advantages of rigging across the thwart? Why do you guys like rigging paddles across the thwart?
It's clean. It's not an entrapment.
The other thing I like about too is I could switch guiding from one side or the other depending on what needs to be done. So if you're here in this spot, I need to guide on the right, and this will make it easier.
No, you're the only person that does that. Nobody else switches guiding. You're the only person I know that does that.
It makes you have a balance. It makes you symmetric. It makes you not all lopsided. You see people who paddle captain all summer? They're like all like weirdly.
We're not all God's gift to paddle guiding, Aaron.
Just switch sides. You can paddle on both sides of the boat, right? What's the difference? So, but it's helpful to be able to switch if you need to, or it's easier to pull someone in on that side if the paddle's not there. You have that space for someone to sit. Like you pull an extra person, they sit over there and paddle. It gives you a lot of options. So I think I agree with Dustin's reasoning for why I like to stuff it in back. I think those are really good points, all those. But if that's not a problem, I like them across the back, and I like to carry 2 spare paddles. I think that's the other key thing. is with 2 spares, if you flip that boat back over and get in, for some reason you're like Zach and you love to let go of your paddle and you get back in there and you pull somebody else in, you'll have 2 paddles. And with 2 paddles, it's like an oarboat. You can get the boat down pretty well. So I feel like 2 spares is the minimum. Like if you really want to be like safety conscious, that's the minimum I want to have in my boat.
Yeah. Thanks for that, all that, Aaron. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I ran a lot of 7 loads, so you have somebody sitting next to you, so you can't do that cutesy paddle thing.
Yeah,
and
that's
so then you have to, I would shove them under the thwarts sometimes and just get them, like, they'd be really hard to get out, but you had them. But I agree with you. I'd like, if I don't want people to sit on the boat and they're in the way, and I have a person next to me to 7 load, they'd go under the thwarts completely, which is a pain. But I love the across the tube. That's the option.
Under the thwarts, I've seen them bend the paddles too.
Yeah, but they also give the boat rigidity, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, there you go. All right, Trevor. Yeah, go into PFT. Can I take this?
Go for it,
Aaron.
I'm just on a roll. Yeah. Well, I have my article about all of this actually.
Yeah.
And he's right that anyone, like you can be positive, neutral, and negative. Like if you take a deep breath, it's amazing how much higher you float than when you have no air in your lungs, first of all. So that makes a huge difference in terms of your flotation. So yeah, you can be negative, positive, whatever, or neutral. So I just wanted to say that. Go ahead, guys. What do you guys have to say?
That's it. I don't know. I mean, it's complicated.
I really appreciate the comment of the aeration of the water. This is ultimately why you're not floating, is because of aerated water. So I think that's a big factor in this whole thing.
But you don't control where you fall out. You don't like, oh, let me choose the non-aerated water, right?
Right, but that would go back to the argument of having a high float PFD, because having a high float PFD is going to help you to float more in aerated water.
Yeah, because you float in a lake doesn't mean you'll float in aerated water.
So you're thinking, Dustin, are you saying that's an argument for a high float life jacket?
The aerated water, yeah. 4.
Okay.
All right,
that aerated water would be for high float PFD.
Yeah.
Yikes. Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. Yeah,
that wouldn't. A lot of talks about asymmetric guiding. You have to get both sides. I mean, you don't have to.
Oh man, everyone's on my. Yeah. All right.
I mean, sure. I've done it a few times. It's tough. It's tough.
Oh.
I guess I kind of want to make a comment on that, like guiding on both sides. I guess I would want to clarify that, because I've seen a lot of paddle guides. And I think, Trevor, you guys did a video about this recently about guiding from the very center of the stern of the raft. And I see a lot of people what I'd call like switch hit, instead of being confident and competent in like a forward sweep and a prise stroke. They're only competent in like that forward sweep stroke, and therefore they have to like swap sides to guide. And I don't think that is good technique. You should be competent and confident with all your strokes on each side. So if the situation were to arise where you need to guide from the left or guide from the right, the opposite side of what you're like dominant in, that you have that ability. But I would avoid this like switch hitting guiding.
Yeah. That's a really good point. Is like, we're not talking about switching in the middle of a rapid. We're talking about, I've been guiding in the morning on the right. Now in the afternoon, I'm guiding on the left. I've got this strong person on one side. It's just going to be easier. And instead of having me switch everyone else where they're moving, I'll just switch the other side.
Are you better on one side?
Depends on the year.
I mean, I'm not gonna. Maybe I'll guide Meat Grinder on the left just to change it up, but I'm not going to guide Troublemaker. I'm going to go, hey, the hard one, if he falls, I better go. I mean, I can survive on guiding left, but it's not fun for me, and I'm going to make mistakes.
I don't know which side I'm better at.
Let's get through these comments. I also think different variation current holes. Yeah. Yep.
But I think, what did they say? Yeah.
I don't know. I think I disagree with this. I think you can It surely is a benefit to be able to do it, but I think you can guide from one side your whole life and be an amazing guide. Like you're never forced. It's never like, oh, on this side,
Wow, Zach. Man, are you talking about yourself right now? Is that why?
No,
is that what's
I'm talking about 99% of river guides.
I think you really think you should be able to just guide from one side and be able to consider yourself a great guide.
I would say 99% of river guides have one side. They do it day after day. They just crush.
Zach, that's what I would thought before all these comments, and everyone's all about the symmetric guiding. Like I thought that, but then everyone's talking about this. Here's a couple other points I'm going to say about it, Zach. Is you're guiding and you hurt your shoulder. You hurt one shoulder. You can still guide on the other side. So I think there's advantages to that too. Is like if you hurt yourself or something happens, you can switch sides. You put a hole in the back right corner of the boat. You can't sit in that corner because it's all soft and floppy. You can switch to the left. I think there's a lot of reasons.
Trevor's right bicep is 3.5 inches long, not 3 inches, not 4 inches, 3.5 inches larger. I mean, you know, I can hold on. I'm gonna get jumping on this distance. I can guide from both sides. It's just way more comfortable for me. It's like throwing a baseball left-handed. I can throw a baseball left-handed. It just looks funny and feels awkward.
Can you paddle in a paddle boat on both sides?
Yeah.
Is that awkward?
No, but it's awkward to pry stroke on the left, and like my pry is weird. It isn't natural. I have so many miles up on the side. My pry is really awkward on that side.
Wow.
Oh, that's interesting. Like atop a tunnel chute, you might like somewhere like tunnel chute, you might change sides so you don't smash the wall. That's an interesting.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the advantage. Exactly, Peter. Stuff like that. There's certain spots where you're like, I really want to be on this side for this, so I can be high side in the boat as we go down, and I don't have to worry. I'm already on the high side.
I don't like how many people
likely to swim.
Aaron today. There's way too many people like being with Aaron today.
Yep.
You know, if you prep and train your crew well enough, ultimately you don't even need a paddle, right? You could just sit back there and call commands.
Well, you know, Dustin, we're going to talk about this. I like this thing called paddle at will, where and maybe you guys have heard of this. You just say paddle at will and tell everyone to do whatever stroke they want to do. And just, you know, and you tell them which side of the river to go to. Like, hey, we need to be river right or river left, and bring the boat around. And that works really well. But they have to like learn to make small, subtle adjustments to keep it going straight. So they don't just they can't just paddle hard because then the boat turns. See, they have to be able to like navigate and understand where the boat's going so they can keep the boat going the direction you want it to go. But totally agree. That's actually a really great way. And then I just stick my paddle in the back. I don't even have to paddle. It works really well with kids. Like I'm serious. Like 10, 12-year-old kids love it. And then they'll just race ahead and want to be first. And you just sit in the back of the boat and just kind of hang out, and they paddle the boat down the river. Yeah, totally.
My friend, I remember Bubba when he guided Giant Gap. His 3 commands were he'd go right river, left river, and then bring around. That was it.
Yeah, that's where I learned it from, Bubba. Yeah,
and
Bubba.
So I do that sometimes commercially just to make it different and fun. And then say right river just means get to the right, left river means get to the left, and bring around means bring it to be straight. Yeah. Peter, paddleboarding has helped. Got on both sides. Yeah, I mean, paddleboarding, I can paddle really well on both sides. Like you learn to paddle on both sides. It's the pry stroke that I think is a trick for me. But yeah, I haven't done much paddle guiding since I paddleboarded a bunch, so maybe it was better for me. All right, let's keep playing this video. And I think this one's interesting because it brings up something we talked about on that Middle Fork Maytag video. This is a boat surfing. What's your solution?
Are you asking us like, is this a rhetorical question that you're going to answer right now, or you want us to answer it?
I want you to answer it. Is this your solution? Tie somebody to a rope and throw them in.
I might try something first.
It's probably not my first option, but then again, I bet these guys work there and they've probably had this problem before, and they probably know that this works, and this is probably their go-to for this spot. So I'm going to say I'm going to go with the local knowledge on this and agree with them that it's probably their best option. It actually looks like a pretty good place to go in because it looks like there's like a nice eddy and you get pendulumed in pretty well if he like doesn't make it or something like that. It doesn't look too bad. But I wonder if they could just if they could have a raft there and just push a raft out, and then he could like grab onto it with another raft or something like that.
Yeah. Like carry a raft up there and tie the rope to the raft and put him in the bow
Yeah. Something
and
like
just
that.
have them click something onto it.
Yeah.
That's interesting too.
I also wonder if you could just like clip it with another raft, just bump the corner of it, and knock it out as you're coming down.
From the top, have somebody come from
Yeah.
the top, and dash it out.
Yeah, but you don't want to hit it straight on. But if you hit like, hit where the like front, the tube closest to them, hit that corner and maybe pop it out. I don't know. But let's just talk for a second while we're watching here. Let's just say you couldn't get out to it the way he's doing. Like, let's just say there's too much current to get out there. What would you do then?
I'd make lunch and wait. That's my solution for this always.
Have you seen, maybe you guys have probably talked about this, but these like grappling hooks in the bottom of throw bags?
Yeah.
Oh,
Right? Like,
yeah.
it's got like, there's some of them either have like kind of like 3 edges with kind of carabiner clips on them. And then I've seen others that are like a plastic plate with kind of teeth along the sides of it. And I wonder, like, ideally, I think they were designed for capturing ropes in the river, but I wonder if they'd be successful at something like this as well.
I think you'd end up throwing it 20 times before it caught. To actually grab something in there, it would take a lot of throws, and by then it would just come out.
He missed it. Okay, but he's not. It doesn't look that risky there. I'm gonna say I've been in that situation where we've had to get a boat out of something like this, where we couldn't get it from shore. Oh, nice jump. Look at that. The one comment's just said they've heard of someone dislocating their shoulder trying to do this technique, which is, I could see that happening.
Is it doing this technique, or is it the swimming from stream, right? So you like start upstream and jump into it and try to grab it. And there you have so much speed, that makes sense. Right here, he doesn't have speed, but if you try to grab it at full speed, it might be hard to do.
Yeah. So what I've done before, like this, is where we've thrown like a bag, a weighted bag in the boat, or tie a stick on into the bag. So you got this big stick, and you throw the stick out and get the stick in the boat, and then you try to get the stick to jam in the boat a little bit. Or like if you have your spare paddles tied off to one of the thwarts, usually you can like kind of, you can lasso the rope out and get it around the spare paddles, like T ends or something like that, and yank it underneath so you can get some purchase on it, so it's not going to come off. And then you can pull the boat out, and that works really well. Like,
so find an entrapment. You need an entrapment to do that.
Yeah, if you have an entrapment. But like I said, I think you want to have 2 spare paddles on your boat in general. I think that's a really important piece of safety on most rivers. So, yeah.
Well, we tried to hook a carabiner from a kayak. You mean like a kayaker goes by?
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah. With a rope and a kayaker and clips it on. Yeah.
Is he hand paddling? Or he's just like, let's go with his paddle and just like clips it on. I mean, that's a massive hero move in a kayak. I mean, this is an opportunity for hero moves, right? The jumping out with the grabbing it, where you could just make lunch. It's gonna come out eventually. It's not gonna stay there forever.
Do you think that's irresponsible if there's a bunch of other parties on the river that day?
Well, that's a good point. Like, are you in the way of everybody?
Yeah.
That's a good point. Because this is kind of in the main channel, it looks like. Mm-hmm. I mean, if there's a way around it, no. But yeah, if you're blocking the channel and there's more boats, then yeah, you're right. You probably need to get it out.
Do you think that raft on the run that we did, where you did the scenario for me, do you think that raft would have come out on its own?
Probably not. That was pretty. That boil line's like 10 feet.
So what happens if there was one where you just say wait, but there's certain situations where it's not coming out?
I mean, it will come out eventually. Like you just, hey, you know what? Like, I feel like if we were to put people in danger, I'd be like, you know what? Luckily, the Columbia River is going to stop it, right? So you're not going to lose. It's not just going to go to the ocean.
Do you think this guy's in too much danger right here doing this?
I don't.
Doesn't look like.
I think the danger is dislocating his shoulder or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to say I think people setting up rope systems to pull ropes off rocks is way more dangerous than this.
Yeah, I don't see him getting entrapped or dying by doing this. I just think trying to grab it with some speed and your arm will get yanked out of the socket or something.
Yeah. And this is a good point too. You're assuming that they're carrying their lunch with them. Maybe they don't have lunch with them. Maybe that's not an option. Maybe it's after lunch. Maybe you're on the Tuolumne and the water is going to drop, and you've got a 3-hour window of water, and you have to stay
It's
on
a
the window
figurative lunch. I mean, it could be a interpretive talk, or it could be go play a game.
Yeah, but what happens if you're like on the Tuolumne, you have 3 hours of water?
You're in trouble. Yeah, that's not good.
You want to get it off, right? Or people don't want to wait around on commercial trips. They've got other stuff they're going to do that day. Well, we're supposed to go off the river at this time. And then
I get that, but like, I think, does that necessitate doing something dangerous? Like that, where you had, so we're talking about Aaron, when he had his IRF scenario, we did at Steelhead Falls and the White Salmon. It would have been there all day long, right? If we hadn't used a raft to get somebody out with a line. But would you've gone on live bait in there to do that?
Oh God, no! That hole was terrifying.
Yeah, you definitely don't go on live bait. So if we hadn't been able to use a raft to get it out, there's no other option. You wait or you leave, right? I think, and
that's actually now. I wish I'd done that scenario again because that was your raft. Next time I'd be like, oh, we just leave the raft. Let's go.
The Columbia will stop it.
Yeah, the Columbia will get it. We're fine. Don't worry about it. Outfitters have tons of money. They have so much money to buy new rafts. Let's go. Oh man, if I'd only thought this through better, I would have loved to see your face. Oh yeah, well let's just leave it.
It's good there. I think Nick has a good point here that let me make sure I have all set up right. That was about the best situation you'll find. You're not going to find like that was super clean. Like usually it's a bit it's further away. That was about as good as it gets. Like most situations aren't that easy to just jump out on live bait and do it. All right, so the last video I have for you guys here is I haven't watched this yet. I watched the first few minutes and I thought this is cool.
Have we seen this one before too, Zach?
Maybe, I don't know. We might be just redoing things.
A little Groundhog Day. Well, I will say our conversation about that last slip was good. It was interesting. The one that we'd seen before is we talked about different stuff this time.
Yeah.
So are you guys fans of closed-toed shoes on rivers like this, or do you guys go for the Chacos?
Closed-toed shoes.
I got to say that I think, again, it's, what risk are you willing to accept? If I'm guiding on the Rogue all summer, you'll find me in Chacos. But if it was cold weather like this, the river's cold, it's a bit more technical. Like in this situation right here, I'd probably full on be in closed-toed shoes.
It's I feel like this is a good closed-toed shoe. Yeah, we got some comment. Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is a classic closed-toed shoe river. Like you're running around in rocks, like something happens, you got to like. You're not just putting yourself in jeopardy; you're putting your team in jeopardy a little bit if you don't have the proper equipment like that. Ooh, that thing's buried.
It's buried. You know what I like about it? I'm gonna go full screen.
So we're going to talk about which tube you want to deflate on this one?
In a second, what I do want to talk about really quick is I just like, if you notice these guys and pay attention, I mean, you mentioned the shoes, they're geared up for success. These guys have throw bags around their waist. They have dry suits on. You can just tell these guys are serious. They have all have helmets. I mean, the guys, they have the right gear, I feel. And I haven't seen the whole thing, but so far that it looks like that. So on your deflate tubes, is this a tube deflator, Aaron?
I don't know. That one looks pretty deep. It's hard from this angle to see too if it looks like it's going to go off one side more than the other. Oh man. Ooh.
And do you even have the option of pulling from the other side? Can you even get over there?
It looks like somebody's already over there.
Yeah. I might try deflating the tube that person's standing on right there. That one. The one on the river right. I might try deflating that top tube. But it's so buried. And maybe trying to deflate the middle thwart on it. You get to that, just so that middle thwart's probably holding that boat under. And if you deflate that middle thwart, it'll kind of maybe allow that tube to come up a little bit.
Deflating the thwart though, Aaron, that would just put more water. Would that put no, I guess not. More force of water on the boat, but it doesn't matter, does it?
No, it's sometimes I've heard about people deflating thwarts to help change the forces on it. Yeah,
there's somebody on the other side. Yeah, that's when I saw that person on the other side.
Yeah,
And there's a kayak and eddy below. That's nice. They have like a little downstream safety.
We get to see how they get it off.
I don't know. I watched the other ones, but I didn't watch this one. Let's
How
hope
long
so.
is this? How long is this shit video?
It's about an hour and a half.
Oh, perfect.
It's 13 minutes total.
Oh, he didn't throw the bag. He just threw the rope end.
Why?
Maybe he didn't want the bag in the water, less drag. I don't know, because he didn't think he needed all that rope out there. He didn't want to have all that extra rope. I mean, the throw was awesome. He nailed it. Went right where he wanted to do. If you listen to, actually, I've seen this one. I've seen parts of this one. I was listening to this one the other day, and he does a good job of. He does a pretty good job of describing. Hey, this is what we're gonna do. Make sure you're on the upstream side of the rope. Okay, like I think he does a pretty good job of introing it. It sounds like he's got got dudes. He's got like commercial people back there, but I think giving instruction and talking and taking some time to let everyone know what's going to happen and what's going on and what to do if this or this happens is important. Yeah.
I like okay, so here's what I like so far. They're all upstream of the rope for sure, which is nice. They've gone to the far tube and they're pulling that far tube upstream to do the peel off.
Yeah.
I think that is where they're pulling from is right. And I like that they're just like, hey, let's just pull on it for a while. Let's see what happens. It's not like sometimes people want to go right to the big guns and they're just like, let's pull on it.
Well, and then change where you're pulling from. Try this spot, try that spot. Yeah.
And they could have somebody building an anchor right now to like, hey, here's some equipment, go, start building this over here on these rocks while we're trying this other thing. There's so many things that could be happening to increase the efficiency of this rescue. I'm
all about efficiency. It looks like the guys in wetsuits I think they're guide school students. That's kind of the vibe I get. So this guy's one of the instructors. He looks like an instructor, right? He's got stickers on his helmet. He's got, nice Astro PFD. And the students looks like they're in wetsuits. He's got a river knife. Look, he's got his anchor with him. What's he going to do with his anchor? I mean, this is what I like about having a flip line or anchor in your PFD is that at this point, like those guys, so right now, I bet those guys on the rock, there is a time constraint here because there's looks like 4 people on the rock, maybe 5, and they're going to start getting cold.
Yeah, but I agree. They're going to start getting cold. But Zach, when you pull that raft off, that's not going to help them at all. They're still going to be stuck on that rock.
Yeah, but you throw a throwback over, get them to shore.
You might as well get them to shore now, though. I guess my point is maybe leave the guide out there and get the rest of them off the rock.
So would you prioritize that? Like, hey, before we do all this crazy other stuff, let's take our time to get people off the rock one at a time.
I think depending on the group and what's going on, I bet, but like you said, I bet it's a guide school group, and in that case, it's like, yeah, leave them on the rock.
Let them freeze?
No, I don't think you let them freeze, but let them experience it. So they're not just sitting on shore. They're out there seeing what's going on, see what's happening, and have a better feel. And then you debrief it afterwards, and you can discuss hey, it gets cold being out there. You got to think about people because you're amped up when you're the guide in that situation. You're just like, oh, raft, oh, I got to fix this, got to fix this, got to fix this. And there's these people who are really cold behind you. And, you got to remember how cold you were in that situation, just sitting there, not doing anything.
But my point here is if we're sitting here checking carabiners and we're taking our time to go down to our boat and get our thing, those guys are on the rock just doing nothing, getting cold.
Wait, Zach, if that's so important, then get them off the rock first. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. If you're complaining about, oh, hey, it's going to take me longer to go get my wrap kit off of my boat. Well, first of all, when you edit out, you probably saw this, so you probably grabbed it when you walked down and were like, oh, I'm going to bring my wrap kit with me. But the other thing is yeah, that's not a big deal. You got to get them off the rock first or you don't. So, and then like you've said before I agree with your premise on the whole is give it a little bit of time to see if the raft comes out. And I think on this type of stuff, give them a little bit of time before you throw a rope from shore. Have them push up and down on one side of the boat on the rock and just look what's happening. Don't just go rush to get a line from shore.
I think their situation's tough because when there's 5 people on a rock and if that boat moves at all, it might push somebody off. Or when you're huddled on the rock, if you start pushing up and down and move too much, like there's not room for all those people on the rock.
Then I'm going to say is, and I would get the extra people off the rock and then start doing the pushing up and down and doing those things.
Okay.
If that's the case.
So you're going to say in general, you're going to get people off the rock, but because these are guide school trainees, you're going to let them suffer a little bit and experience what it's like.
Well, and I think there's stuff to be taught by being out there. I think they learn by seeing what the guide's doing and being out there and being part of that.
They're not learning anything right now. They're on a rock watching this guy's back to him.
I think I agree with Aaron. I think it's a great opportunity for a learning moment. Like he could be talking. He could be pointing out all of these exact things. Like, hey, you guys are cold. Like, take that in consideration if this ever happens to you, and these are your guests. Like, what are you going to rescue first? Are you going to rescue the boat first, or are you going to rescue the people first? Like, I think that there's a lot of learning that can happen from both the students on shore here and the people on the rock.
Yeah. Did you see someone already got injured? Did you guys notice that?
Oh,
yeah.
Gee.
Yeah. You got it caught in the system.
I think assuming there's an instructor on the boat, I think you're assuming there's an instructor on the rock, and you're assuming that instructor has the knowledge to like make this a learning lesson.
But even if they don't, are you going to have them all here at this end? Because that gets messy. You don't want more there. I mean,
I don't know. I think this part is the part that is maybe. I'm torn. I mean, I agree. I'm trying to play devil's advocate a little bit here.
But this part, you can go back and do this part at camp. Setting up the rope system, show them how they set up the rope system, show them what they've done. You can do that at camp. You can't recreate. It's hard to recreate that experience out on the rock.
The experience of the rock is getting cold.
More than that, though, you're looking at how the raft is set. You're looking at what's going on. You think about swimming downstream. There's a lot going on there. In general, I probably would take the people off the rock anyways, just because it just be like, after a bit, be like, I mean, maybe they have a way to get them off the rock once they pull the raft off, they can climb on the rock, and maybe it looks different from where they are. And maybe they don't have a good way to get them off the rock right now anyways. Maybe they're going to have to swim down. Who knows? And they need that raft to set up the safety. So
my take here too is that they only pulled from one angle and went right to 3-1. I feel like they should have tried a lot of different angles before. I mean, they put the rope on it. Like, or this guy, they seem to know what to do. Like, we know the solution, pull from this angle. There wasn't a lot of attempts to try different things out before going to the 3-1.
I mean, it's not a bad angle they're pulling from.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's the angle I would pick.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you think I hope they pulled on it. We're like, whoa, it's actually moving a little bit. If we just get a little bit more force, we can pull this thing off. But I guarantee they didn't do an anchor on the raft. It's probably one D-ring, right?
And so the guy right there, he's like ready to take it in the teeth.
Yeah. So they need this is where the people on the boat need to have their flip line do a 2-point anchor to D-rings. That should have happened. And they also need to redirect here. Or wrap it around. There's no way you're wrapping this around the tubes here.
Oh, totally could. Right there, yeah.
No way you're getting it through the tubes here.
Yeah, you totally could. What does Trevor Croft have to say? We've got some comments from Trevor.
Oh, geez. This is also, it's good to have someone in them both. I need to move where. It's good to have someone there, not 4 or 5 people.
Yeah, I'd say at least 2 people. One person, you kind of want 2 probably. One person to be able to clip the line and someone else to like spot them and to hold them. Like, you know.
Trevor, I've basically been wrong all day, so you don't have to say sorry. I'm used to it being wrong all day. But
whoa, back it up. Let's see that again.
I came right off.
Awesome. Wow. Yeah, wow, that looks so buried.
I love the fist pump.
Yeah, that was amazing.
I'm gonna go back a little bit here. Trevor, so I want you to be specific. What is there to learn from standing on the rock other than getting cold? Oh, Trevor, you're killing me here. It's a rough day for me.
Oh, jeez. Is
Aaron, are you the guide school instructor from LTCC?
Oh, I think that would have been Ben, actually. Fadley who would have made Dan do that. But yeah, I think Ben did make them do that one year. Yeah, they had to swim.
They wrapped it off the rock.
There's a wrap, or there's I remember there was something like we probably would have. Yeah, that actually doesn't look like that bad of a swim now that I look at it. It looks actually pretty good.
And that was,
yeah.
Well, that was my thought. Like, they're going to be cold on the rock, or they're going to be cold on shore? I don't know. I think the opportunity to like have some like direct hands-on instruction and observation on that rock. I think the potential for learning on that rock is greater than the potential for them to just be freezing on the side of the river.
I get it. I'm wrong. You're right.
You know what? You bring up a really good point there, Dustin, too, is because if they pull them to shore right at the end, then they're going to get in their boats and paddle and warm up. If they got them and swimming right now, maybe I would wait now that I think to get them off the rock, because then if you get them to shore, they're going to be cold because they'll be in the water. And then there's a standing around waiting. If it was like sunny on shore, it would make sense to pull them, but in some ways it makes sense to wait. And it's like, okay, let's get everyone off the rock now, get in the rafts and go. Now we can paddle and warm up.
Okay, I get that. Okay, guys, you have me convinced. I've changed my opinion. Leave them on the rock. They can learn all about stuff on the rock. It makes sense with students. If these are commercial guests, what do you do?
Well, I think that cold thing, I hadn't thought about that before, is like if you swim them early, then they're gonna be, and you think you're gonna be waiting there for a while. Are they gonna be warmer having swum and be on shore, or are they gonna be warmer on the rock?
They're warmer on shore. I've been here before with people getting cold on the rock, and
you think it's warmer than getting in the water and getting soaking wet?
Because on the rock, well, you're still kind of potentially getting wet. You're in the river, which is like the water's there, so it's like the air is colder. But on shore, you can do jumping jacks and push-ups and walk around.
That's a good point. Yeah.
You're just standing there as a group, like getting COVID. This is a super spreader event.
I definitely think that's a great point, Zach. But like, I mean, ideally, you have.
Hold on. Do not say that's a great point and give me a but.
Well, in addition, so that's a great point. That's better. Ideally, you have a guide down there with them that can, help warm them up, because they may, like, as a guest, they may not have that, and being cold, kind of scared. They just did this swim. They have no idea what's going on. They may not, like, self-care may not be evident to them. And so, like, having a guide with them, if there's a guide on that rock, like, he can at least talk to those people. If there's a guide downstream on shore with them, then can instruct them and coach them how to stay warm and, like, really amp them up a little bit more and get their mind off the situation.
Yeah, I'm wrong. You guys are right. Let's
look at some more comments. Let's go back up to those comments.
Hey, hold on. Let me do one thing and then we'll get to that. So I think they do have a 2-point anchor on that raft. If I can see it here, I don't know if you guys can see it. It looks like there's a 2-point anchor, but the angle is massive. So what I see, and I don't know if you guys can, I'm seeing this large, is it's maybe like 100-degree angle. Because on those airboats, the D-rings are so far apart, right? So they are using 2-point anchor, which is good, but the angle is massive, which is counterproductive in some ways. All right.
I have a question about this then. Like, let's say you do have a larger angle, which increases the forces in that system between those two D-rings. But if you were to let a little bit of air out of that tube, would that greater angle help that side of the boat to buckle more and like dramatically change the shape of the raft and potentially be an asset?
That's some advanced thinking.
Does that make sense?
That I think Aaron's the
that's an interesting thought. Yeah, I'd be worried about blowing the D-rings off beforehand. I would say that would be my. Sure. I feel like I've blown off enough D-rings. I don't know, maybe. The air, I've never tried to take, unwrap an airboat. Maybe their D-rings are better held on than hypalon boats.
D-rings are on there pretty, I think they're amazing D-rings. They're actually built into the boat, actually.
If that tube actually buckled a little bit, the angle of that rope would decrease, and then you'd have the angle you're looking for.
Yeah, or the other thing you could do is make it longer, right?
Yeah.
If you had the webbing, like he's probably using his flip line.
I think you know what I think he uses? The short air bag. He used the end of the throw bag because he threw him that into the bag, right? And I bet that's why he threw him that into the bag, so he could just run it through. He could just run it through the D rings, tie it directional figure eight, another figure eight, and clip them together or something, or maybe he just tied it off back to itself, made a big.
That's some advanced technique right there. I don't know if that's probably what happened. I think when I think about the large angle, though, would you rather have? I'd rather have the large angle and 2 D rings because if one does pop, it's not going to fire back. So we're taught to make sure that angle's less than 60 degrees or whatever, 90 degrees. But in fact, it's better to have a large angle than just 1 D ring, because if you do pop a D ring, the fire, all the metal is not going to fire back at everybody.
What about, Zach? I kind of agree with you, but what about if you had? Wouldn't you be better off having basically all the force going to 1 D ring and having it backed up with another D ring, like more like protection for climbing, where you have your main piece and then you have a secondary piece that's backing it up?
That's interesting.
So the first blows and the second keeps it from coming out.
That's interesting.
I would be cautious of that shock load, because if that shock load's great, that D ring may be just as likely to come off as well.
Yeah, I think it'll break, and then there'd be so much like there's not continuous force coming. It's like you're pulling a truck. Like it would just break, and then there'd be like slack. So I've never thought about that as a technique, Aaron. That's interesting.
And you could, then you could put it pretty loose to the second one, so you have some space. Yeah.
Did you guys get smarter than me in this last week? I don't know.
Well,
man.
What are the comments saying, right? What is that? It's okay. You have really smart friends. Yeah.
Thanks,
I mean,
Peter.
I'm
Okay
just gonna say, I feel like I have to step up my game now that I'm here with the professor. So yeah, expectations are higher.
It's really good to see how the boat peels off the rock. They also have the opportunity to see how to set up. Oh, so he's talking about it's good for them to be on the rock. Yeah. Okay. Cool. You're right, Trevor. I'm wrong. You're right. I know the one that reminds me. I think I really am a big fan of this angle of the peeling off thing, and this really demonstrates how powerful because you're peeling it off. It's probably going to flip, but Trevor, I apologize for even challenging you in this example. I was wrong. Get the guests out of there if it's safe. I'm on that train. What, Peter? Get the guests off. But the question is, do you get the guide students off? Is it the guide students are technically guests, but does the training outweigh them getting cold? Looks sunny on shore. That's what I thought, but what do I know? If for commercial guests, I'd get them to shore early. Commercial clients feeling abandoned during a wrap is terrible. Trevor, you mean like abandoned? I mean, this is what happens too, though, is you get them to shore and they're abandoned on shore. Is that what we're talking about? Or having them abandoned on the raft? I think I've been on some rafts where the guides, we all went to do the rescue for 2 hours and our guide sat there in the sun for a while, and that was bad. I wouldn't do that again. So I think you're referring to that. Oh, interesting. Good to know. I swam to a rapido several times. Wait. Okay, swam and couldn't make it back to the guests. The guests were terrified. Yeah, so you're saying the guests were left on the rock without the guide. That's a bad scene. You definitely don't want to have guests by themselves on the rock. So I think the guide goes down with the ship and the guests get pulled to shore. I mean, the guests aren't helping on the rock. There's no benefit to having them there. Where I think
I agree with that
is because they're guide school students. There's benefits of learning from them being there. And you guys have me convinced on that one. Well, let's finish this. The last few minutes of this video up. See if there's anything else to learn, and we'll wrap this show up with Aaron and the professor. These guys are really efficient. Aaron, you're on mute, by the way. These guys are really efficient. And I think they did use their equipment from their PFDs. That's what I saw. I think I
thought I saw that too. Not only that, but I think that they were using, there was a couple different pieces in there, and I wonder if they came from 2 different guys.
Yeah.
Look at that. And they just grabbed the raft and pulled it over. Now everyone's going to be able to climb into that raft. Man, that is that's some serious pro rescue there. Wow.
I mean, this guy's moving the brake press pro too.
Yeah, but he's releasing it right so that they can pull the raft out towards and get everybody off that rock. I like that. You're not putting anybody in the river. Actually, I think it's a very slick move there.
Now
I mean, they got lucky. That was luck, right? Like usually the boat just doesn't happen to stay there.
It helps that it's a paddle boat and really light.
Yeah.
Well, they could have had a secondary rope tied to it so that when it did come off, they were prepared for it to go downstream and they
Oh,
back into the eddy.
like the people on the rope attached a rope to it, so when it came off,
Yeah,
hold it there.
I'm gonna say, Dustin, like having been on the rock and seen that type of stuff and trying to hold onto a boat, it's really hard because it gets a lot of force and you just get ripped off. People get ripped off the rock most. Like I'd be nervous about trying to do that. I think it's like it's cool in theory, but yeah, I think you're more likely to get somebody hurt if that makes sense because they're trying to hold on to the rope. The boat comes flying around. Yeah.
Well, it's also still connected to the 3-to-1, right? So like the shore still has control.
Oh, I got you. Like
well.
if they stopped it there and then they pulled it back. Yeah, that makes sense.
Here's the other question.
And so
yeah.
I'm with you on this, Dustin. Now that they're done, do you guys take your time, undo all your knots, make everything look pretty, or do you shove it in a bag and keep going?
I'd say half.
I'd put it away proper.
You're gonna have to dry out the line anyways.
And like, I mean, are they done with the day? Is there another class 4 rapid downstream? Are they still like, it's still a guide school? Like, is somebody else going to get pinned somewhere? Are they going to need this stuff? I don't know. I think it's better to have it, proper preparation prevents piss poor performance.
Dustin, if there's a time constraint for some reason, do you still do that?
Well, I would let all those people that just got off the rock, I'd let them eddy out and I'd let them take a break. They, bring the, let them calm down a little bit, get their heart rate down, get them settled, get their mind back in it, and then go. I'm not at this point, I'm not in a hurry. To make sure everybody's okay to get back on the water, that they're mentally and physically capable of continuing downstream.
Hey, was that video continuous the whole time?
If there is a time, go ahead.
I was going to change the topic, so why don't you go ahead, Dustin?
Well, if there is a time constraint, just have that in your mind and keep the process moving forward. Don't lollygag, but I'd still, allow all these people that were just working hard to take a break that might be scared, calm them down a little bit, reassure them, and then
warming them up. But what if it takes 20 extra minutes to untie all the knots and do you take those 20 minutes when there's a time constraint? Right, your webbing, the water knot in the webbing is probably going to take a bit of fidgeting.
Well, depending on the anchor you built, like, are you just going to cut the webbing, or are you going to leave it there? You're going to have to undo it anyway, right?
Well, luckily he just slid the line underneath. He had loops on both ends. I believe he just clipped it on, so you can just unclip it and pull it back around and go. Once again, a convenient aspect of being set that way, you can just wrap it around something. Yeah.
Well, I think we need to wrap this thing up, guys.
Sounds great.
I was gonna say something else about all this.
You were asking if it was continuous.
Oh yeah. Did that video? Thanks. Was that video? Were there any? It's hard to tell from here because it's kind of hits and misses a little bit. Was there any like clear cuts? Because it was 13 minutes.
It was I think it went straight through.
That's impressive. Like in 13 minutes. They got down from the beginning of that video. They got down there. They did it all. 13 minutes. Like clearly you don't have to rush. And it didn't look like they were rushing at any point. They were just kept putting one foot in front of the other. So I think that's another interesting look. Is like it seemed like a long time.
My guess is that they had done that rap before. They're like, oh, this one. Yep, here's the anchor. Here we do this. Kind of like the rock garden and the Tuolumne, like, oh yeah, there we go. Let's do the rock garden wrap technique. My guess is they were pretty efficient, quick, and went right to the answer, and they knew how to do it.
Yeah, but yeah, I think it just step, and then they got the people off. Yeah, it worked real nice. All right, so are we at the end of another? What's the name of our show today, Zach?
Aaron and Zach's awesome rafting show featuring the professor.
Okay. Well, that brings us to the end of another, well, I don't know if it's just another of an episode of Aaron and Zach's awesome rafting show with the professor. We're
Featuring
here every
Professor.
Friday, 12:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Zach, do you guys have anything on this Monday?
I think so. I forget now. I don't know. Maybe. Sorry.
All right. Hey, Dustin, thanks for joining us. Pleasure to have you. Also want to thank all you guys who tuned in today and left all those comments. It's yeah, you great, such informative and thoughtful comments. Really appreciate it. Particularly all that stuff about letting Zach know he needs to think a little deeper on these topics. That really hit home for me today. So thank you. If you haven't slapped that like button, now's a great time to do that. Also, feel free to subscribe and of course turn on those notifications so you can get, hit that bell so you get notified immediately when Zach posts anything new online. Hey, we're in need of new content if you haven't noticed today. So please send us your videos. Like we're getting a little light. It's getting towards the end of the winter, and we need, spring's almost here. We'll hopefully be getting some footage then. But till then,
I'm gonna interrupt really quick. Trevor did send me some videos last night, so we'll definitely show some of Trevor's. We have some more good footage from Trevor, and maybe get him on next week.
thank goodness for Trevor. Yes.
I'll go boat the wind and get more video of me running the wind.
Great. How about, we have to figure out how you could do it differently. Try rowing backwards down the wind then.
Insies, I'm gonna do insies and outies.
Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, fabulous. All right, thank you guys again. Appreciate it, and we'll see you guys next week.